So over this past weekend, I was able to get my hands on the new Nintendo Switch 2 and play a lot of the new games, Mario Kart World, Donkey Kong Bonanza, Metroid Prime 4, and was able to test out some of the new features like the Joy-Con mouse and their new camera. And I can't help but be a little bit underwhelmed. And this comes from a huge Nintendo fan. I really have enjoyed every single Nintendo console. Wii U, I love that thing. After playing through all these games for hours, is that really it? Now, don't get me wrong. A lot of how great the Nintendo Switch 2 will be is going to come down to the quality of the games. So let's first talk about the games before we get into all these new features. The first game I tried out was Mario Kart World, and I am a huge Mario Kart fan. And this one actually, for the first time, takes the series in a new direction. Every single race is a 24-player race now, and there are no laps that are the same. So you're not going to go through 3 laps looping the same thing. It's just a straight-on course where each lap of the course is actually different from the last. And I noticed a lot of elements from older maps reappearing in the courses. So it seems like they took a lot of the map throughout Mario Kart history and put it into this giant world, or at least sections of the maps, and you get to play through that, and making the races a little less linear, even though technically it's actually more linear now. But I feel like racing through these maps, there are a lot of different shortcuts you can take, a lot of different ways you can go. You can fly for incredibly long times, travel on the water, get these new orange boxes, which tend to be a boost pickup, but can also randomly unlock new costumes for your characters. And there's supposed to be more character customization than ever before, with way more characters than ever before. Here are just maybe some of the characters. I don't know if it's all the characters, but definitely there are a lot of new ones. I also got to try out this new open world lobby where you go around and you collect coins. You can grind on rails. You can just drive around until a match is ready to start. And they have matches that work like knockout rounds where you have to be top 16 in the race, and then top 12, and then top 8, and then top 4 once you get to the end of the laps. And then it's just the last 4 players playing, and then obviously it's the winner. Those were kind of exciting. Overall, I really did enjoy the game. I got to play it on handheld mode, and I got to play it on the TV mode. And I gotta say, I have an OLED Nintendo Switch, and this looked really comparable to the OLED, which I was very surprised. I was like, oh, we're going back to LCD screens. Why even bother? But no, this screen, I don't know if it's the resolution, if it's the different amount of colors it can show. I'm not a technical person at all, but it looked really good. One of the other games that I got to play was the new Donkey Kong, and this one is a little bit unique. I would classify this game more as a chill exploration sort of game, because you can just dig wherever you want on the map. You can go down, left, right, up. You can even destroy the entire map if you want, besides the bottom bedrock layer, I would say. But really, within a lot of the ground and the dirt, there are a lot of secrets, a lot of collectibles. But for the most part, for me, it seems a little less action and get to the end, and a little bit more take your time and explore sort of game, which might be a fresh take on Donkey Kong. I don't know. I don't play too many Donkey Kong games. This is definitely one that I want to get into. Another game that I tried out was the Nintendo Switch Welcome Tour. And obviously this game is a little controversial. Why do you have to pay for something to learn about the Nintendo Switch 2? But I immediately got it when I started playing. There are a bunch of mini games and unlockable difficulties to these mini games, and it's mostly, a mini game to test the controller, to test the mouse, to test like the balls on the inside. Now you can have a rubber ball or a metal ball. Also to test the screen quality. If you're playing on docked mode, the 4K screen, you'll have like a 256 pixel Mario. I don't know why they did that, and I'm sure a bunch more. So this is more of a mini game than a learn the Nintendo Switch 2 and all the little things. Yeah, you learn the Nintendo Switch 2 and all the things it can do, but there are also a ton of games. So I don't know, but I am interested in it because I do like mini games. Another game that I tried out was Metroid Prime 4. I love the Metroid series. Mostly the 2D ones. I do love Metroid Prime. The first one, I just never played 2 and 3. I'm going to have to play 2 and 3 before I get into 4. But this game felt weird. And I don't know if it's because I haven't played Metroid Prime in a while. But I honestly felt like I was playing a classic Halo game. You're basically dropped into a Federation Force base, being attacked by aliens, trying to fight them off, trying to save these troopers that are all dying by your side. And it truly felt like, wow, am I playing the next generation of Halo? Honestly, I thought it was pretty cool. I love the old Halo games. If this Metroid Prime is going more action-oriented, then I'm all for it. The only problem I had with Metroid Prime 4 is the new Joy-Con mouse controls. So I used the controls in a variety of games for about an hour, and I gotta say, I mean, it controls like a mouse. It's very, very accurate. You can go like slow, immediately fast, and move the cursor or your aim. Very, very precise. I'm sure there's somewhere in the settings to lower the sensitivity. It was just way too fast for me, so I'm not going to complain about the sensitivity. But there is the one thing that I will complain about, and it's just not that comfortable. I feel like the whole time my arm was like kind of twisted, and I don't know if I just got to get used to a different kind of a form of holding this Joy-Con, but it's literally you're holding a Joy-Con sideways on a desk, which they said you can also use it on your pants or on a couch or like on your chest or whatever when you're playing. So you don't have to have a flat desk. That's what they told. I should have tested that. Didn't think about testing it. It was like, oh, you're telling me you could do that? Okay, let me use this table some more. But maybe my form wasn't correct there. So we'll give that the benefit of the doubt. But another thing that I had a problem with, I was accidentally clicking all the side buttons all the time. And it's just because you have to kind of hold it very sensitively. Normally you let a mouse rest, and you can with a Joy-Con, but when you're moving it, you got to have it balanced. So you have to hold it so it's balanced, and then you got to move it, but you can't hold it because there's buttons on the side that you're pressing. So I was accidentally mashing all these buttons all the time, and on specifically Metroid, I couldn't get used to locking on and then aiming, because there's still the lock-on ability, and then you have to aim towards them. I don't know. I feel like just going regular controls for Metroid Prime is the way, like they perfected it on the controller. But it's just very not the most comfortable experience. And there was an issue on Drag and Drive where you'd have to like, you know, kind of actually roll it. But I guess one of the controllers maybe was not working or dying or something, but it just wasn't registering, you know, both of them at the same time. I don't know if it was the game. I don't know. Maybe it was an issue on my end. Just a lot of maybe nitpick things, I would say, with the Joy-Con mouse. One good game I think this would be great for is Civ 7. They had a demo for Civ 7 there, and playing this game on console with the controller is just a bad time. There's a lot of little micromanagement you have to do between the map and choosing on the menu, and it's just a little bit annoying to do that with a controller. So having a mouse to do that, I think would be absolutely excellent, especially sitting on the couch, especially that you don't have to always have it on the desk, like aiming. Like Metroid Prime, the whole game you're just going to be aiming. So I feel like using it for an entire game, it's a little bit more complicated, but using it like switching between the menus, like using the other Joy-Con to move around, and then, okay, I gotta go here, I gotta like look very accurately like in a normal Civ 7 game. I think it's excellent for that. And maybe finally mouse-oriented games like that can finally find a new audience that have been pretty much stuck on PC. The other thing I got to try out for the Nintendo Switch 2 was the new Nintendo Switch camera. Now I don't know if we all, it's kind of old now. Well, if you've never played with a Kinect or an iToy, this is pretty much kind of the same thing, except it can perfectly crop out your body. Of course, I was against a red screen, so I don't know how perfect it's just going to be in a living room or like this, if it will accurately cut me out and put me into the game. But the cool thing is, I don't know how the technology works, but I think if you're centered here, I can leave and somebody else can come back and just take my spot within the game. Like if it's a 4-player game and player 2 needs to leave and somebody else jumps in, the camera will know based on where you're standing, oh, that's player 2. So it's not necessarily like targeting a face for facial recognition, but more like targeting a person and where you are. So like if I was playing a game, if there's somebody else walking behind me, it wouldn't just like capture them, because I don't think I would be moving out of my own same place and it would be fine. It's interesting concept, the little technology to do that. However, it's still a camera game used in games. I tested it with the new Mario Party Jamboree add-on, and it played pretty much how you expected it. One of the mini games was hitting the P block, and you're just going as fast as you can, but sometimes it doesn't exactly register, so you have to make sure your movement is over-exaggerated so it gets, and it's the whole thing. It's the whole thing. It might be fun. It might be fun to play, you know, 1 or 2 times, but getting from minigame to minigame with the camera, taking forever. Unfortunately, I didn't get to test out the actual chat feature. I really wanted to, but there was nowhere to actually do that. But it is really very cool. That's one thing that I think is very cool that I didn't get to try. But besides that, it's just motion controls. It's not revolutionary. I do think it's very cool to have the camera to set up a sort of like a Discord screen sharing thing with your own face in the game, and have a sort of couch co-op even if you're not in the same house. But the main thing, I think, is the new graphics and processing power. Again, I am not a technical person. I just play video games. But I can officially say that the graphics are pretty good. They're pretty good. I got to play Cyberpunk. I got to play Yakuza, some other games as well. But I really wanted to focus on Cyberpunk because I know that's the most graphically intense. And I was really looking at the details to see, okay, how is this different from my PC? Obviously, it's going to be way different from my PC since I'm running a 5090. But I was very pleasantly surprised that graphically, it is much better than a Steam Deck. And it better be, because it is more expensive than a Steam Deck. I mean, it is one of the most expensive consoles ever, and the most expensive Nintendo console ever to release. So I was really hoping, like, please Nintendo, at least have good graphics on your next console, because graphics aren't everything, but not having good graphics means that new games that are made in the future might not be released for that console, and it kind of sucks. Like, Nintendo Switch is a great mobile console that you can also dock and play at home, so having like the newest AAA games on the road with a nice experience is something I'm hoping for. I heard something about Nintendo partnering with Nvidia with AI frames, maybe. I don't know if they are using the AI frames, which you can't tell at first glance, but it just makes fake frames to make the gameplay more smoother. And playing through Cyberpunk, don't take my word on that they're using fake frames or anything. I can tell you it felt just very motion blurry, like moving around fast in Cyberpunk. It felt like a little, not sluggish, maybe a low frame rate. It felt like maybe 120 frames. I don't know if it was 4K 120 FPS, but it just felt like so much motion blur playing through that game, especially running around, and not very crisp and smooth and snappy. And that could have been just a setting, like turn off motion blur. They probably maybe just had that on. There was also a little, I had to say, a little bit of a lag when loading into the areas of the game. I wish that didn't happen, and it's not the final version, so that has me a little bit worried, because that game is kind of pushing the Switch 2, and I can't help but think what games are going to be released 8 years from now, and how much that is going to be pushing the Switch 2. So I'm just hoping this is like an early sort of gameplay thing, and it will be ironed out closer to the official release. However, I was looking very closely at the graphics and the lighting and just how good it looked, and it looked pretty good. Graphically, I would say it is on par with I don't want to make this assumption, but I would say it is on par with Xbox Series X. I was playing Split Fiction right before on the Xbox Series X, and looking at Split Fiction on the Nintendo Switch 2, it looked identical. So that is good news, that just to the untrained eye, my eye, it looks really, really last gen. I was going to say next gen, but we don't know what next gen, we don't know what the PS6 is going to put out, or the Xbox. What are they calling this thing? These are the stupidest names. The Xbox 2XL. I don't know what they're going to do. So overall, you know, the camera experience was like, okay, we've already had that. The graphics are like, you're finally reaching this past generation's graphics, so that's good. But what about the future? Don't really know. It's definitely not, it shouldn't be at the level of a 5090 or a 4090 as far as graphics and processing goes. But hopefully it can stay in the game of AAA for another 8 years. They do have Dusk Bloods coming out as an exclusive game. That is exciting. The mouse feature, very cool idea, I would say. Obviously, it's probably only going to be utilized in gimmick mini games like the Welcome Tour and actually good games like Civ 7, where a mouse is definitely preferable over a controller. But for the most part, I don't know about using it for an FPS like Metroid Prime 4. Maybe it's just something you got to get used to, but can we really reinvent the mouse to be sideways? Can we do that? I guess we just have to wait and see, but that's not something, I'm not really hyped on any of the new features. Really, it just comes down to the games that Nintendo puts out. And you know, Nintendo's always great at doing that. I like Mario Kart World. It is another Mario Kart, but a complete fresh new take, so that's great. Donkey Kong, a complete fresh new take. And Metroid Prime 4 is probably the one I'm most excited about, except it's also coming out for the Nintendo Switch. It's not a Nintendo Switch 2 only game. So overall, I do have to give it a okay. An okay rating. A lot of the games there were also re-releases that were released on other consoles like Split Fiction and Cyberpunk. They got the Street Fighters and Final Fantasy 7 remakes coming out. There's a lot of good stuff that should be on Nintendo consoles because they're on everything else. But I don't know, I think Mario Kart World and Metroid Prime 4 are really going to have to carry the next console. For how long? Obviously, they're going to have good games. We can't deny that. But $450? I'm honestly more excited about this backpack than the actual Nintendo Switch 2. You know, all the good things I can do with this. I can put my Switch 1 in it. I could just leave it on the floor next to me because I don't really go anywhere or go to school or anything. But it's still cool.